Warning. The following program contains explicit content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Hello again there, friends in Whitecapsland, and welcome to another edition of the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And I have to admit, I'm a little bit subdued, a little bit down for tonight's episode. Got a bit of toothache. My dog, poor Bailey, has an ear infection. Have to take him to the vets tomorrow. So that's not good. And of course, TFC won the MLS Cup. So it's not been a great weekend, but we'll try and be as chipper as we can be. If you're listening to this show on the podcast, well, we're doing something a little bit different this week. We're going to do the live radio show in 6 segments, maybe 5, but probably 6 segments. The first 2 of which will get released on Monday as a podcast. So if you're listening to this now, you're listening to episode 233 of the podcast. That episode or that podcast will have the first 2 parts of tonight's radio show and the first chat with Kei Kamara as a Vancouver Whitecap. Doing a conference call on Monday morning, so we'll bring you all that in a special episode of the podcast. The rest of tonight's show will then come out on Thursday in episode 234 of the podcast. So enjoy that, everyone. So we're going to bring some Whitecaps news and some MLS chat to kick the show off. And let's start with the big Whitecaps news of the week. We have another new addition. Kei Kamara, after a few stalls and maybe joining before, and Robbo saying no, he wasn't, and then Robbo saying today, well, yeah, I did have chats with him actually. Kei Kamara is now a Vancouver Whitecap. We've added another striker, an experienced MLS body, but one that comes with a lot of salary behind him. He could be a DP. Right now he is sitting as a DP, but
he seems like a Vancouver-style DP.
Yeah, and that's something we'll talk about as well. But like straight off the bat, you happy with the signing? You surprised by the signing?
I have no problem with the signing at all. It makes sense in a way that you have a young guy who's that you paid money for, TAM, Anthony Blundell, and you're not expecting him to be, jump in there and, score goals right away. You want him to give it time to adjust. You bring an MLS vet who can play, like they advertised he can score goals with his head.
Yep.
He has scored
Which
goals.
Which is good because the ball's in the air a lot.
I know. So it's a good thing, I think. I think this is a nice signing for them. It doesn't stop them from getting other people down the road if they want to. So at this point, it's a decent signing.
We said there'd be 2 to 4 strikers come in this offseason.
Yeah.
We're at 2.
Yep.
We're pretty sure that we know of a third.
Meyer Bevan, you're talking about?
Yeah, and then maybe more.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I heard, I don't know, it was October, that there was discussion, there was hopes of bringing in a striker that was within the league.
But not this particular one, I believe.
There was multiple names.
Yeah.
I heard. Many of these are obviously discussed in the Twitterverse, whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see Kei come in. I don't think anyone holds out hope that he is like going to be the the striker who plays starts every single game and scores 20 plus goals.
Yeah.
If that's people's expectation,
They're wrong. If it was,
sure, it would be nice if that did happen. But I don't. If those are your expectations, I think you might be.
Everybody was happy with Freddie Montero last year, and he scored 13. Like everybody thought he had a decent season, not a spectacular season, a decent season. And then
Kamara gets 12. I'll be happy with 12.
And then people are saying that Kamara is going to get 10 at the most or whatever. That even that's fine because you got to expect Blundell to score some goals in there.
Oh yeah, I mean he's going to be in the 40s. So
in the 40s.
Yes, we're going to have over
Garrett
50
Mueller.
goals just from those two guys.
The Venezuelan Garrett Mueller.
Like they got from the striker position, they got 16 goals last year.
Yes.
So if Kamara gets 10. And whatever Blundell gets, if he gets at least 6, that equals last year's. If he gets more, that's even better.
And Hurtado's always worth a few.
I had not looked at that. Is that true? That's the number 16 league goals.
13 from Freddie, 3 from Eric.
And Breck Shea fell over.
If you include Breck as well as a striker, which I don't think anyone really does.
He's never scored
having
from
watched him playing.
I don't think he's ever scored from the striker position. He scored from the wing position.
Yeah,
I know we don't know. We do this sometimes too often, digging up old things. But doesn't it hurt to say that 16 league goals from all strikers last year? And what was it, 2013? We had 22 goals from one striker.
Yes, very, very true. But I like the signing. I've wanted Kamara to be here for a while. We first talked about it in 2015 when the photo which I've put out on Twitter, which Tom took at the end of the game, Kamara had swapped shirts with a Whitecap, so he came off the pitch in a Whitecap shirt. And when I initially tweeted that out back in 2015, it was like, oh, if only we could make this happen. Because he scores goals, and he scores goals in MLS. Yes, he's a bit older, but the Whitecaps badly need an experienced head in that locker room, and totally agree with what you say, Steve. And you tweeted this out yourself today. It allows Blundell to ease into the league a little bit. The pressure is not on Blundell right away to be the guy that goes out and gets those goals. Or it shouldn't be. It will be from some quarters. But to me, Kamara should be seen as the main guy, the main goal scorer.
No,
Blundell is the backup.
People put pressure on everybody. Everybody's saying that some people were talking about when the other news came out that a certain young player was going to be a failure. He's not very good anymore. So people put pressure on everybody on the Twitterverse.
Okay, so obviously the 2018 roster building is still in early stages.
Yes, and a lot can still happen.
Right.
Because you have to feel they have to get rid of some big salary as well to kind of allow Kamara's to come in, unless he is indeed coming in as a DP. They've got the ability with this new TAM, which we're going to talk about in the second segment, but they've got the ability with the TAM to buy him down if a proper DP comes along.
When your description there a moment ago when you said that you expect him to be the one to score the goals or what, I think that's probably too heavy. I think it's fair to expect him to be, based on where things are at this moment, to be the primary target player that they use. I don't know if I'd expect him to be the number one source of goals. Because if they play Tony wide or they play Tony behind him, I would probably expect more from him playing off of a person who's going to hold the ball well, flick on the ball well, that kind of stuff.
So I mean, you obviously like the Blundell signing because Freddie Montero, he was the Colombian, the loanee. Already you're down to Tony. You're on short terms with Anthony. It's like Tony.
Wait,
I thought you meant Chani. I was confused why Chani was playing out wide.
Anthony,
no, that's Titi.
The Venezuelan, whatever.
We've got KK.
It's the one thing, obviously people have been talking about this as well, is there is one of the concerns, aside from age and maybe contract and whatever, is kind of some of the off-field stuff. Because in the last 2 years at least, maybe it's 3, there's been concern about Kai's situations that have happened amongst teammates, especially obviously in Columbus.
Lots of folk always throw out the phrase, "Oh, he's a cancer in the locker room." I've never really seen any evidence of that, I've got to say.
Right, you haven't. You weren't on the ground in Columbus.
No,
but yeah, there was concerns over what was happening there, and then
there's other allegations that everything's about Kai, and if he's not happy with what's happening with him, he's not a team player.
And we don't know how those things reports are tainted. We don't know that.
The thing in Columbus, if they didn't have Ola Kamara and they had maybe a better number 10, they would have traded Higuain and they would have kept Kamara, if you think of it that way. They had a replacement for Kei Kamara. They got a deal done, and they moved on from it.
And Robbo has said he knows him personally, so there's obviously already a good relationship there.
And then in New England, the concern was when he didn't get the playing time he wanted, and he expressed that, which is maybe not a bad thing for a footballer. Right?
I honestly have no problem with that, depending how you express it.
Right.
Now, you could be like certain Whitecaps residency players over the years that go barging into the manager's office, or you could do it a nice way and sit down and talk to the manager.
Yeah. Have you seen some of his, like, it wasn't about playing time. You see, it was against MLS. Was it the shoes or socks?
Yeah, the True Sock.
Yeah.
Which I'd never heard of, but then after that I read into it, and it's like the True Sock seems a fantastic product. Yeah. And why MLS don't want their players to wear that product is ridiculous.
Oh, because they're not being paid.
So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Now, for those of you listening to the podcast, we are now going to bring you the Kei Kamara conference call that took place on Monday, his first chat as a Whitecap.
Okay, I believe I've transferred Kai over. Is Kai, you on the line? Kai, do we have you?
Yeah, I'm here, just trying to fool you. Trying to give you bad African connection. Can't hear me. Yeah. No.
Okay, excellent. I believe we have everyone on the call. So as mentioned, we got Michael McCall from MLS Soccer and AFTN, Josh Clipperton from Canadian Press, Joe Hall from Red Nation Online, Patrick Johnson from Vancouver Southern Province, and Farhan Dempsey from Whitecapsfc.com. So let's just kick it off. I'll give Michael McCall honors.
Hi, Kai. Just wanted to ask, first of all, what's your feelings? You've been in MLS a long time. You know how the trade system works. Did this come as anything of a surprise for you, or did you have a bit of an indication that there was going to be a move in the works this off-season?
It's a bit of a surprise, definitely, but it was something that I had been pushing towards. To be honest, obviously I made it public with the Revolution in the summer, that I would like to forward my career elsewhere because I didn't feel like I was the right piece of the puzzle into the system or the play that that was happening in New England. So a bit of a surprise, obviously, ending up in Vancouver because all you ever hear is just the fans talking about it. You don't get a direct phone call to say from the club, hey, I'm trying to get you. So definitely that's where the surprise comes from.
Knowing how Vancouver play, do you feel that you do fit into the system a bit better here in Vancouver?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm attracted to the system, definitely am. Watched Vancouver played for, numerous of games, the atmosphere in that stadium, and the way the guys play, the speed of attack and all that, and just the crosses in the box. I'm a striker that lives off, just being in the box and feeding off of that, and really just watching that. Sometimes you sit on the outside and say, oh man, I wish I can be in there. So, I'm really interested, to join the team, and hopefully that's the same drive and system that continues with the boys and putting balls in the box. And if I'm that guy that one or two of the players will rely on and say, well, now when I put a cross in, I know Kai's going to fight for it, whether or not I'm scoring it, but I'm always going to make myself known and distract the defenders or anything else so we can continue to get goals. Josh?
Yeah, great. Thanks for doing this, Kai. Just wondering, there was rumors back in 2016, obviously, about you coming to Vancouver. Did you feel like if it was, after that sort of not happening, that this might not happen, or did you feel like it was inevitable? And in the back of your mind, that maybe you one day would be able to make it out on the West Coast?
Yeah, actually, I actually felt like that one was closer than what just happened. Yesterday, definitely from Columbus. One of those, I'm thinking, I'm going to end up in Vancouver and really excited about it. It's actually a funny story is the day I was getting traded to New England, I went into training knowing the fact that I've gotten traded. And in my head, from all the Twitter craziness that was going on, I went into training thinking, oh yeah, I just got traded to Vancouver Whitecaps. And so they told me I'm going New England Revolution. I was like, oh. They said it was Vancouver Whitecaps from all the Twitter stuff. But don't listen to the Twitter stuff, and that's what I did in this time around, and it just happened so good.
And just to follow up, you talked about the system here in Vancouver and how it appeals to you. What about playing for Carl? And I know that you actually played against him at the start of your career. And any run-ins that you remember with him on the field? Yeah. Carl's he's a competitor. I mean, somebody that played the game outside, overseas, and somebody that you respect, and somebody like that when it's in charge, and he's the leader now of something. He's gonna want to put the same venom in all the players, and you can see that. You can see how the team has been playing. Yes, I had some run-ins, with him. He's a hard hitter, but I'm not a baby either, so I'm sure maybe that's what attract my style and everything to him. And I'm really excited. I'm really happy that he chose me. He chose not just him, but the rest of the staff over there, and putting trust in me, thinking, I can be somebody that will help, the team, and that's what I look forward to. But, Carl has always been, that guy and that player, but at the same time, now that he's a manager, I can definitely, when I speak to Tony Chani before, how, the system and how the work, the intensity is at training. Pardon?
I'm wondering how close you think the Whitecaps are to competing or winning an MLS Cup. It's good. I have to say, every team in the beginning of the year in the MLS has a chance to win an MLS Cup, and which, it's shown in the past years. There's been teams that went into the playoffs with, being a wild card and making it to the final. But it's a team that's competing. Vancouver has always been a team that's competing, but it's all about making playoffs. It's all about making playoffs, and that's the one goal when you start the preseason. So everybody will work towards that one goal, and you make playoffs. That's where everything changes. So making it into the playoffs is the number one goal, and I believe that with the rest of the guys and in that locker room, that's what you want to do. You don't want to cut your season short without a playoff. So if we push ourselves and get ourselves into the playoffs, then the job becomes even better to try to win a MLS Cup. And now that a Canadian team has won it, it just shows that the fight becomes even more, because you want to be the next one to win it. You don't want them to be repeat. And do you think you can catch Landon Donovan for all-time goals scored? You're at 98 right now.
I would love to. I'm a goal scorer. I want to score goals, and no matter what I'm going to do, I want to score goals. Actually, you said 98. That's just regular season, so I think I'm over 100. But thank you. But I would love to. I would love to catch Landon. Landon is one of the U.S. great. I grew up in L.A. and I used to admire that guy when he played. He worked hard. But again, now I'm going to get into a system where it's all about feeding the striker, and I want that pressure on me, whether or not I'm going to score every game. But I know definitely I'm going to be able to put some goals in the back of the net, and it's going to put some numbers on my goal scoring sheet. But hopefully it's going to put some points on the board and making us, in the position that we want to be for playoffs.
Patrick?
Kai, you're, admittedly 33. You moving to Vancouver where there's a lot of travel. Do you have any concerns about, dealing with long trips given, where you're at in your career?
I am, where I'm at in my career right now. I'm in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and that's a long trip. So I think I'm used to that. I'm used to that travel. I mean, that's the thing that most other players that haven't played in the MLS might not be used to. It's the travel around the MLS during the summertime, getting used to the weather and all that. But I've been in the MLS for years now. I can cope to those things, and those things don't bother me. And I don't want the number 33 to even be anything that rings a bell anywhere, because I don't play that way. I'm focused, energetic, athletic, and I just play soccer. I don't really worry so much, but I know how to take care of myself off the field to make sure that I'm ready, when it comes to a game in New York City, flying from Vancouver.
From afar, you've always seemed to be a pretty outspoken guy. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Yeah. I mean, I let people know what I want. I let people know, the person that I am. I mean, it's nothing that I hide, but then that's something that, I hope, teammates respect, because I'm
I'm a competitor. I want to win. So when I'm screaming at you, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I want us all to be, better. So that's how I push myself. But and then again, when it comes to the fans, I mean, they know me as I'm outspoken, but in a positive way. I like to connect with the fans, and which I look forward to with the City Brigade and the Southsiders and all the rest of the guys over there. I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Floor is open.
Yeah, a follow-up. It's Josh again with CP. You mentioned you're obviously back in Sierra Leone. You came to the U.S. and you were 14. Why is it important for you to keep going back to your home country? And I know you're involved with some charities there. Can you sort of just tell us why that's important to you?
Yeah, actually, first, I was in the U.S. when I was 16, and obviously I was really attracted to the system of MLS, and they told me I have to go through the collegiate system to play in MLS, which I did at the age of 21. I was able to make it. I had interest to play for the U.S., but I'd been away from home for a while, and I figured out that the best way to continue to come back to Sierra Leone was to play for the national team here. And through that's how I got connected with most of my family members and realized how many family members I have. So it's been wonderful coming back to Sierra Leone, and really as a professional, of anything, the best way is for you to go back to your roots and see how many smiles you can put in people's faces. And to me, that's what it's always been about. It's not about how much you make or the fame and the this, but I use those things to give back to where I come from. Actually, I'm standing where I'm standing. I'm looking across the road to the mudslide that I've been raising funds to, and this is my view from my house forever. And it's really sad to see people that went through stuff like that, people that don't have anything. So when I come back home and they say Kei Kamara, or I'm able to give somebody a T-shirt and he puts a smile on their face, and I walk around town and I see somebody wearing something that I gave maybe 2-3 years ago, I feel proud of that, and I feel like I can make an impact in this country, and so that's why I love coming back.
Just one final one from me. I know you're obviously a long way from Toronto, but did you watch the MLS Cup final? And if so, I mean, does it spark? No, you didn't. Okay, I thought maybe it started sparking the competitive juices.
Yeah, I heard it from some people is saying it was one of the best finals, but Toronto was a good team this year. But then again, that's this year. They did everything possible, and they won the cup. I wasn't able to watch the full game. I've seen highlights. There's definitely some players that produced and have done well for them. But again, like I said earlier, it's all about making it to the playoffs in this league. So starting from preseason, and the goal always is let's make it to the playoffs. So depending on how many players return back to our team, which definitely helps, and how many players have an MLS experience, also definitely helps into going forward. So really just, I'm excited. Like I said again, Toronto winning it should be motivation for, Vancouver or even Montreal, to say, I want to be the next Canadian team to win the MLS Cup.
Hi, it's Michael again. I just wanted to ask a couple of quick things. You've been in the league for a while. You went away and you came back. How have you seen the league change where it stands today from what it was like when you first joined the league?
Yeah, first, obviously, when I joined the league in 2006, the main attraction was David Beckham, and he helped really push the league and the media front, give the league a recognition. When I continued to play in MLS and all the way to leaving the league in 2013, going to Norwich City. Enjoyed my time over there, and which gave me more of an itch to play in England. Unfortunately, going into Middlesbrough, I didn't, stay there long. But while I was in England, I could not stop hearing from teammates and players asking me how they can get into the MLS, how they can play in MLS, and these are younger players, not older players. So because of that, it was something to push me to say, what, I could go back and try to win a championship. And so when I had the chance, to leave, and it was a no-brainer, me and my wife just thought about it and said, what, let's get back home, and I would love to, get back and win a championship. So that was one of the reasons why I came back, and luckily enough, we made it to the final, but not able to win it. But that drive is still in me. That drive is in me every day, and that's why I want to be in a place to compete. I want to be in a place, that has the same drive as I do, is to win an MLS Cup.
And you were with Kansas for a while, but since you've come back to MLS, this will be your third club since you've returned back to the league. Are you hoping for a bit of stability now? Do you see yourself being here? Ideally, if things work out for a couple of years, maybe end your career here?
Yeah, why not, man? I'm maybe even get a Canadian passport. I won't be opposed to that. No, I definitely. It was one of those when I was coming back to the MLS, saying I only want to get back to Kansas, but it's different now. It's different because everybody's competing. Everybody wants to win something. So it wasn't just about going to Kansas and trying to win something. Yes, I was in Columbus, New England, and now going to Vancouver, and I definitely looking to stay, looking to win something. I'm not, looking to test the waters, 1 year here and then move, and if it doesn't win, then try a different club. But, it's about building something, and playing in Kansas for 4 years, build one of the best, soccer cities ever. And I'm not saying we're going to build that in Vancouver because it's already there, but definitely want to be part of something that's going to build a championship team, whether it's, this year, next year, or the year after, or the year after. So, I'm looking forward to just being there and seeing, what the plans is.
That's great. Thanks, Kai. Good luck with everything.
Everything's A-OK. Everything's A-OK. Everything's A-OK. Everything's A-OK.
But I like the Kamara signing.
Yeah, but there were other rumours too before the signing. He was one of them.
Yeah, I put out on Twitter, I broke the story on Twitter that Kamara was the guy that signed. Unless you've read something like the Province, where apparently Steve Ewan did the digging, which I think just involved him reading my Twitter profile. He digs it. So, yeah, I put that news out there, and I'll be honest, my initial tweet, I think, did confuse folk because I was talking about two different rumours in it, but I didn't really differentiate that.
Oh, right, yeah.
That I'd been told that there was a big target man that the Whitecaps were going to announce this weekend, which was Kei Kamara.
Some thought it was Alan Gordon.
Yeah.
Former Whitecap
Some
Alan
thought
Gordon.
I was talking about the first player who I'd mentioned in the tweet as well, which was Obafemi Martins. And yes, there was a little bit of trolling from me in that of the Seattle fans in the lead up to the MLS Cup, but I was genuinely told through a source that Obafemi Martins has been offered to the Whitecaps to MLS on a loan deal. It looks unlikely to happen if we've added Kamara.
For sure.
But never say never, because there's other situations very fluid that we don't know what's going to happen with other big name, big money players that's already on the Whitecaps roster. So it's not dead in the water.
Well, they even
and
mentioned...
if anything, it's going to have the Seattle fans' head exploding, which my initial tweet did, which it worked a treat.
They also mentioned, I think in one of the articles too today, that the Montero thing's not off the board, but I think that's done.
Yes,
that's a done deal at this point. That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
because they're protecting...
The Chinese club said they were willing to loan him back to the Whitecaps for this season.
At a way better deal, I'm sure.
Yes.
For them.
So it might be that the Whitecaps say no, but they have protected him in the expansion draft because they now...
He's going to be free in
rights.
2019, yeah.
Yeah, but they own his rights. So if they want to loan him back to MLS and another club in MLS want him, they now have to give the Whitecaps something for him.
That's a good move. Did they pay
to Minnesota to move up to first in the allocation order?
Right.
Yeah.
It was Anthony who they paid
1.3.
No, they paid Dallas 50
yes, to get for his discovery rights.
Yes.
Because Dallas is the only one that discovered him.
Yeah. One of the 12 MLS mechanisms for acquiring players.
There's just 12? It feels so much more.
I read an article this week and it started with, there are 12 mechanisms that you can sign
12
players.
That folk learned about
12 days, 12 modes of food. But still 12 days of Christmas.
You should do that in your festive...
Yeah. Well, that'll be our countdown. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Mm-hmm. We'll come back to some of the other stuff we're going to talk about. But I mentioned the expansion list, so let's just get to that now. So Freddie Montero, one of the players that the Whitecaps are protecting. They're protecting Ali Ghazal, Eric Hurtado, Kei Kamara, Stefan Marinovic, Nicolas Mosqueda, Freddie Montero, Nerwinski, Parker, Reyna, Chani, and good old Kendall Waston. Now, automatically protected players are the homegrowns and next year's signing of Blundell. So Samari Kugbe, Marco Bustos, Fonzie, McKendry, who's not even a Whitecap anymore.
Well, he's still there until his rights. Yeah.
David Norman Jr. and Russell Tybert. So that left, I won't go through this big list.
But make the main guys.
Yeah, there's 19 available Whitecaps players in this expansion draft.
That's
And I'm going to put inverted commas around Whitecaps players because they haven't picked up the options on all these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But under MLS rules, they're Whitecaps players. So there's a couple of surprises in there for me.
Yeah.
Christian Teixeira.
That's a surprise.
Marcel de Jong in some ways surprises me, but not in others. A, because of his age. B, because he's Canadian.
Well, yeah, and he counts. He's not a.
He wouldn't be a domestic
Yeah.
in MLS's flawed system
Exactly.
of domesticity.
Nice.
So de Jong's not protected. That kind of really surprises me in some ways. But Teixeira, I think, is the big one. But again, not really, because he's on a high salary.
And he's international.
And he is an international.
Yes.
Which a lot of people were upset that, why did they protect Eric Hurtado? Eric Hurtado...
Because he's domestic.
Yeah.
He's domestic. It's hard to find good domestic, not like decent domestic players.
I think Robbo's also made it very clear Eric's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He has a lot of time for Eric. He said himself, and you tweeted this out, Eric's not a guy, going back to what we said earlier, that barges into the manager's
He's
office
not going to
and
make a
demands
fuss.
playing
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
He just puts his head down and works harder and takes it when he gets it.
Yeah.
I like his attitude.
Yeah.
And I know we've been critical, or I've been critical of him over the years, but he's turned me around totally.
Some of my friends, they had the Hurtado at Red Card on Saturday.
Nice.
Delicious pizza.
Oh, the Hurtado pizza that we were talking about, yes. So what is the Hurtado
I
pizza?
can't remember. I had it once. I can't remember.
Well, must be a lot of booze in there. Can't
But,
remember.
I mean, to me, it makes complete sense because he's the guy that kind of would get picked up. You're guaranteed a couple of goals from him. He's got a pedigree in MLS and he's cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's LAFC
No,
material,
you know what?
but
They might have selected him if they see that the fact that they can maybe somebody else would be interested in him
trade
too.
him on to someone else because there's going to be a lot of that.
Is it a good thing? Do you think it plays any role whatsoever, the fact that one of the people making the decisions for LAFC is John Thorrington, and he has at least some relationships with some people in Vancouver? Do you think it helps at all?
I don't know. Not sure if anybody...
Maybe. But if it is John Thorrington, that is likely to mean that David Edgar will go to LA with all his injuries. He can relate to John Thorrington.
David Edgar got hit by a car.
True.
That's not a big difference.
Yeah.
Still injuries. But is there any other players on that list that jumped out at you as big surprises?
Well, again, when I put out a quick list, because I was going to do an article, then I realized that they were going to release it Sunday. I go, there's no point in doing an article at this point. I didn't realize that they would have to protect Montero's rights. I did not realize that.
No.
So I think the play, like you said, Teixeira's the big one that surprised, especially over Nicholas Mosqueda. I thought they would have protected Teixeira over Mosqueda because Mosqueda, while he's good off the bench, he's not a starter, and LAFC is not going to pick up.
And they didn't
bench players.
protect Mosqueda last time, right?
Yeah. And then other than that, no. Brekshia I expected to be, and then Yordy Reyna was a little bit of a surprise, but I guess maybe they have no information of what's going on in Peru. To that's why they're maybe protecting him because they think he's going to be okay.
Well,
because I wouldn't have protected him unless I knew something.
I was going to talk about Yordy, but just before we do, anyone on that list, Zach?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you guys on the surprises of who was included there. Yeah, Nico ahead of Christian because of what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
It must have to do with his salary,
His salary.
And the TAM involved in his whatever. Like, I think that's got to play a big role.
Also, you have to be honest and say Teixeira, he goes up and down in form as well.
But he's contributed. He's contributed more than Nico.
I like him,
and I love Nico.
Yeah, and I give me the choice of the two, I would pick Teixeira every day of the week.
He's been pretty consistent this year. He's been. You have to admit that. Last year was a horrible.
Are we going to get a season good, a season bad? I mean, who knows? But
that's the facts of life.
Is there anyone on that list that you actually realistically think LA are going to take?
No, unless it's Brekshia and they wanted to have like a golden boy for their American golden boy
or
for
trade
their team.
bait or
I think the fact that they only get 5 picks instead of 10,
that's going to make a big difference.
Lessens the likelihood that someone gets taken. And I really think if there's a concern, if they're concerned that someone or someone's rights or whatever are going to be taken, I think they plan ahead. Or if they're fools if they don't.
Yeah.
We talked to LA. We've heard it in the past. lots of deals are made about if you don't do this, we'll do this for you, whatever. And
one trade that happened today is they traded a 4th round pick for an international spot. Now, international spots are pretty valuable, so that's
to some clubs.
No, and so that I'm assuming is going to be a thing where LA. I don't think I'll be very surprised if anybody gets picked from Atlanta, basically for LA, because they got an international spot for a pretty cheap price.
There is, of course, we talked about Jordan Harvey could end up there, but he will be a free agent, so they can
there's no need to pick him.
A contract.
Yeah, so if they take those free agents, they still have to negotiate a new deal.
Yeah, so there'd be no point in doing that. If they haven't got a keeper lined up, Usted could maybe interest them. That's the only one that I thought. But yeah,
but that's such a high wage. I don't
think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Unless and then Bradley coach in Norway, in Scandinavia.
Stabæk.
Yeah, so maybe
he's played in the Portland tournament against Osted.
Yeah,
if memory serves correct.
Yeah.
But again, maybe renegotiate that deal afterwards because no one else is then probably going to take him. So we talked about Yordy Reyna's had his protection taken. A lot has come out in the press in the last week in Peru. Now, obviously, have to take a lot of these things with a pinch of salt because it's very sensationalist.
We don't know what is Peru's how their guidelines are for the press. Whether they're
very tabloid.
Like here, it's a little
tabloid.
Different than there, right?
Yeah. And you're relying on translations, which can get misunderstood as well.
In my line of work, I get to walk through life with people in some of the most exciting moments of their life and also in some of the most difficult moments of their life. And I cannot imagine this poor girl's family and all this that they're going through. Again,
and I think that's what everyone should remember first and foremost.
Whether it's tabloid, whether it's true, whether it's somewhere in the middle, like this is awful.
Yeah.
Like this is horrendous.
Yeah.
And as a parent myself, I don't have kids in that age range yet, but like I can't imagine.
No, that's my biggest fear
public.
when they get in that age range. Well, I
mean, it's played out publicly. That's the bad thing, and we don't know what's fact. We don't know what's fiction. We don't know what's leaks. We don't know what's just let's make something up.
Rumor mongering.
Sensationalism. We don't know what lies people are maybe telling to put out there because they're deflecting stuff from themselves. There's just so much that we don't know.
And the family's hearing what they're hearing, so out of the news, and so they're going to attach themselves to whoever the news is blaming. They're going to go after that person, right? Publicly.
We have to say though, like with the news and the information that has come out, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't paint him in a good light, no matter what the eventual outcome is.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff that came out this week was the poor girl's phone had gone missing, and then one of the reports was the phone had been found in Yordy's apartment. So again, you don't know if that's true. There was the fact that he had apparently told the police that he didn't know her, but then her phone showed that he'd sent messages to her and arranged to meet her before they had all met up at the club, and then she decided not to.
But
if that's
a
true,
fact. We don't know if it's a fact.
We don't know if that's
allegedly
a fact, but if that is
everything,
true, he's lied to the police. So there's that aspect of it, which isn't good. I reached out to the Whitecaps for a comment after the fact that one of the more recent reports was that the Whitecaps were going to terminate his contract and that a club in Peru were keen to take him on.
Alianza.
Alianza. So they were maybe going to take the contract on, but the Whitecaps wouldn't comment on that. They would tell me, though, that they have been in regular contact with the player throughout all of this. It's going to be hard because the communication, the time differences and everything like that. I just hope that whatever happens, the family get peace out of this. And it's not as bad as it looks. From a football perspective, you want Yordy back here. But if some of the stuff that's come out is true, it is going to make it difficult, I think, for him to return. Some folk might not accept him, judging by the initial lynch mob on Twitter that we've seen every time something comes out. And as we keep saying, you have to take these reports with a pinch of salt. I don't want to believe them, but I'm not naive or blind enough to think, oh, no, that can't be true. They're just making it up. So you have to keep an open mind here. And I'm looking at both sides of it. And if the stuff that does come out is true, it's not looking good.
That's a fair to say.
So we'll just move on and we'll shut this section off very soon. But just before we do, let's finish on some good news. Well, for some people, Russell Tybert re-signed a deal this week. Rusty is back. Happy?
I have no problem with him being back. I'm not upset like some people.
I want to see his salary before I decide if I'm happy with him being
No,
back.
I am happy that Russell is back. Yeah, I've read a lot of the comments online about salary's one of them. The perception that he is okay with maybe not always being a starter, but wants to be a part of the club and what the club is going to achieve.
He does love it here, and I've got to say, in this modern day of football, to actually have a player that wants to be with your club and shows loyalty to your club is so rare that it is nice.
Yeah.
And I know I rag on him a lot. I like Russell as a person. I spent time chatting to him. He's always super friendly when we chat.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's an MLS quality. That's the only reason that I rag on him. Now, if he can go out there and prove me wrong, and maybe it's a confidence thing, maybe he's known that he's so far down the pecking order that it's affected him confidence-wise, but if he can now think, I've got my chance to show that I'm worth this and go out there and do it, then fair play to him.
I disagree with you. I don't think he's MLS starting quality, but I think he does have a spot on a roster. There's 30 people on a roster. And you need people that are able to, and he's a similar guy to Hurtado, and they mentioned that he's not going to be upset that if he doesn't start, he's not going to cause a fuss. And you need those kind of guys in your depth.
Oh, totally.
And he's
I would agree with you, Steve. I think he is an MLS player. I think in the right situation, he could be even a starter in MLS. The biggest problem is a lot of people here don't feel he is a starter. And get frustrated about, the money he was on or whatever.
The only reason I don't think he's a starter is I think he's a bit one-dimensional. If he can add that attacking part to his game that we saw in his fantastic season,
and as a residency
with
kid,
all the assists and everything, if he can bring that back to his game, I'm totally sold on him.
Well, you say bring that back to his game.
Who knows it's gone? Maybe he's been told not to bring it.
He's been told to play defensive midfield. He's been told to play holding midfield.
Ali Ghazal doesn't offer very much. He's pretty one-dimensional.
Okay, I'll take that. That's true.
Yeah,
But we'll be back with some more Whitecaps chat after this.
Hi, I'm Carl Robinson. You're listening to the AFTN podcast.
Now, you heard off at the top of the show that there advisory content in this episode of the podcast. We'll just play that for you again because, there's going to be some swearing in this episode, especially in our Wavelength song that we've got coming up. And some things that we're going to talk about in this segment as well. TFC winning the MLS Cup. How can you not swear? But before we get to that, I want to just finish off some Whitecaps news for the week. The additions that we've seen so far. Now, we were just talking about this during the break. A lot of fans on Twitter today have been very critical of the Whitecaps. In fact, anything that Whitecaps do, there is a segment of the support that is highly critical. And we're highly critical of them at times as well. You've got to remember, this is the second week of December. A lot of the additions in previous seasons haven't come till January or February. So they're making these additions early. Do you see that as that they've deliberately gone out to try and do that, to try and end the year on a high after what many see as a disappointment?
I think you know this, Michael. Like, all their moves are calculated. They have meetings where they sit down and say, when do we want to announce this? MLS says, you cannot announce this until this happens, right? Like, we know that's how this works. So, yes, all of this is intentional.
Bad news on Friday night.
Yeah,
Friday afternoon.
Bad news, right? Yeah, okay. Davide, Eric, both released Friday, like 4:59 p.m.
Yeah.
Or traded or whatever, or transferred. Yeah, so no, everything is calculated. It is, I think, for most people who care about the club, the team, it's nice that there is some positive news, right? There's these 3 new additions already. It helps you, feel like 1, stuff is happening, 2, it's positive things that are happening, and helps keep you engaged. I think to some level. So I think it's everything. Nothing is by accident.
It keeps our show going because we didn't expect this much news.
We thought we were just going to have some shorter shows in the off season. Now, an interesting thing that our good friend Harjeet Jahal at Hard Journalist on Twitter, eagle-eyed, Sherlock Holmes style, noticed that the videos that the Caps released of Robbo extending the contract of some players, Anthony Blundell's signing, and Kei Kamara's clip where he's talking about how good Kei Kamara is, he has the exact same outfit on.
Yep.
So they were obviously all recorded at the same time at the end of November. So this Kamara deal's been in the works for a long time.
Well, I'm sure it was. They probably have. They just can't announce it, like you said. They had. They had to,
it would explain how I find out about it this week, right enough. But
there was a trade opening for like 6 a.m. or something. It was like
6
Pacific.
till 10.
Yeah, and I actually kept waking up every half hour, just looked at the phone, see if there were any alerts. And I think it came at 8:30 or something, the first one. So.
I woke up at 9:30 and immediately checked my phone, and the full email, it just said, Whitecaps add 2 time, and I was like, Kamara!
So, I agree with you there that it's interesting. And obviously, some other news that came out this week, Alphonso Davies was reported out of Edmonton, in fact, that he's got an invitation to Manchester United for training stint. A trial or training?
A training stint.
Yeah.
Subject to, because they won't call it a trial.
Yeah.
Because of legalities with him being underage.
Yeah.
But a training stint, subject to the CSA agreeing to it, international forms being signed, and the Whitecaps agreeing to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a good thing? Puts him in the shop window? I'd imagine it probably would be sooner rather than later.
And I think it's a good thing because even if the Manchester United is not interested, it still has raised his profile. Other teams will look at it more.
And this is not new, though, right? Like, we've had players do this. Sam,
Marco Bustos when he went 14
Bustos.
or something like that to Liverpool.
Yeah. Also, look how many players we sign, and in their bio it says, had a trial with Manchester City or had a trial with Chelsea and all that kind of stuff.
It expands the profile of the player, and more scouts are going to come and watch him in person. If there might be a German team that's interested now. There might be a Dutch team, somewhere else, a French team. His possibilities are open then at that point once he gets that first training stint.
Well, let's just hope that 2018 is the year of players on trial in a good way.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And then obviously another former Cap is actually on trial. Kakura Mane is off to Germany.
Yes.
I think he's back now, isn't he?
Well, then he's back. Yeah. But he was in Germany.
Your neck of the woods, Union Berlin.
My neck of the woods?
Yeah.
Because I'm part German. And I've been to. I actually haven't been to a Union game, and they're actually really awesome. Quality displays.
They're a second Bundesliga, I think.
Yeah, okay. But they're in a shout with the shout for promotion.
They also are a good club. They do a lot of good work off the pitch as well. Another kind of St. Pauli style club. So.
Yeah, they I think too, their supporters, the supporters and ultras there, I think did they did the renovations to their own stadium or something and saved.
Yeah.
It's great. There's lots of good stories about Union.
Three players who are on the move.
Yes, for definite.
To Fresno. I got it right this time.
What do you usually say, Sacramento?
I kept saying Reno for some reason.
Right.
Steve sent them to Reno, so they're going to be very surprised. Yeah, the first 3 residency players announced, not big surprises. Sean Melvin, goalkeeper, expected that, talked about that. Tern Campbell, another one. And Matthew Baldissimo.
Yeah.
Michael Baldissimo, not one of those players. He is still playing for the Whitecaps. U19s.
Oh, U19s, that's right. I forgot about that.
So he's still playing there, so that's why he hasn't gone. But there was a few interesting names on the list of players that the Whitecaps have now released. Caden Chung, who we talked about, is going to go and explore opportunities in Germany.
Good luck to him.
But the big surprise for me, Gloria Amanda. Not going to Fresno, looking at college.
But can't go to NCAA because he signed a pro.
I said that.
Okay.
And then Brandon Timko from the Whitecaps tweeted me saying, no, that him and Tommy Gardner are looking at their NCAA options. But someone from NCAA emailed me and said there is no way, from the facts that are known about their contracts, that they are eligible for NCAA.
Yeah, that's what I think. If they sign a pro contract, they're not eligible.
Did they sign a pro contract? Yeah. That could be the thing. We don't actually know what contract they signed them on.
Yeah, no.
The Whitecaps seem to think they're NCAA eligible. I don't. I think they're going to end up at UBC. And I think TSS Rovers are going to have the best possible team this season coming.
And remember,
no defenders, but a fantastic attack in midfield.
Remember the whole issue with Derek Bassey?
Yeah.
And back in the first couple of years when he got released, and then he tried to go back to SFU. Early.
Tim Hickson as well. It screwed over his NCAA by signing the PDL deal.
Yeah. So I don't think if they signed any kind of deal where they're making money, they will not be eligible.
No, I think there's ways around it now.
Don't believe NCAA.
I was told one of the ways in D2 was they could sit a year out, but I was then told by this person that emailed me that is not the case either. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Glory lands up somewhere good, so that's fine. And the final Whitecaps news that kind of came out this week, the pre-season friendlies have been finalised. Hooray. They're not going to Portland, which I'm disappointed by. I was looking forward to my annual week in Portland with the dog.
Yeah, last year was great.
You have so
I didn't
many.
go last year because it was pouring rain.
Was it 2
I
years
went to
ago?
Wales, remember?
No,
Was
but-
it 2 years ago?
2 years ago,
When we
yeah.
went to the egg cart?
But you have
yeah.
you have so many annual weeks in Portland.
True, I
It's
do
like
have a
it's
lot
about
lined
3
up.
annuals a year.
Well, actually, because of that, I've decided not to go to any of the pre-season games because I've thought I'm going to save my money. They're meaningless friendlies. It's going to be really hot because they're going to Hawaii.
Yes.
Then
Vegas.
a group is going to Vegas,
Yeah.
and another
A
group
group's
is
going to
going
I think
to
the
California.
people that are 19 and over or 21 and over will be going to Vegas, and they'll
No,
send the
actually,
younger
I think it would be
players
the
to
exact
LA.
opposite.
Oh, you think
Yeah,
so?
maybe. Yeah, keep them away from the casinos. But yeah, they've now got some games lined up in LA. They're playing the Galaxy at LAFC, UCLA. So a nice warm trip for them. But I think I'm going to skip pre-season this year.
I'm still hoping to go to Vegas just because I've never been, and I'd only go for family or for football.
Yeah.
And I don't have any family there. I don't have anyone. Actually, we almost went one to visit a friend there, but here in the area. But no, so I have no reason to ever go there. But now I have a reason.
Yeah.
So
I highly recommend getting on one of the little private planes and flying over the Grand Canyon as well because it's fantastic.
I've been to the Grand Canyon, but not by plane.
Ah.
But I've been there. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. So busy week for the Whitecaps, and as Steve said, we didn't think it was going to be so busy this off-season based on the last couple, but it's also been a busy week, I guess, in MLS. Third straight year one of Vancouver's rivals have won the MLS Cup. FML, as I believe the
young
young army of devoted followers in the dorms
It's hard
will
not.
say.
It says that's what it says on the wall, right?
FML, yeah.
Yeah, FML too. It does say that in the wall. Folk maybe thought I was joking last week. I didn't watch the MLS Cup.
Neither
and
did I.
I honestly have not seen a single minute of it.
No
I
highlights?
didn't even
No
watch the
lowlights?
highlights. No. I went to VMSL game. Campo Atletico, BCT, Rovers, Tigers United. Duncan Nicol was there, so he was giving me updates during the game. I briefly saw, as I was fast forwarding through one of my PVR games this morning, TFC players lifting the cup.
Yeah, sorry you had to see that.
Yeah, I didn't see any of it, so I can't talk about it. Steve hasn't watched it either.
I was watching Star Wars.
Were they worthy winners?
I went to Red Card to hang out with some friends and watch the game, and it was great to see some friends.
We'll
No, the game was there. We watched the game. Yeah, they were the better team on the day.
I'm assuming Victor Vasquez was the difference in the game because he seems to be the no.
I mean, he got a very fortunate goal at the end.
Oh, the one off the post.
Yeah,
I only
saw a
found
bit
out
of
today
that.
he'd got the second because I knew Altidore had got the first from Duncan, but I didn't know who'd got the second.
Yeah, no,
the tweets I saw said Michael Bradley basically was the guy that ran the show for them, but also Stephen Fry, I believe.
Stephen Fry
pulled out
made some
tons of
huge saves. Yeah, I think Toronto not won, it would have been against the run of play.
Okay, that would have been fun.
For me, the most important things are the pre-match the pre-match tifo. And so Toronto did something different. Last year they did like a rigged one with their awesome rigging setup there that their club really supports them well with. But they did a different one, but the timing was really weird because it was almost like it was supposed to be like a European style where it's held up when the players walk out, but it was more like held up during the anthems and then like not it was taken down. So it was just a little bit weird, but it was okay. And but the highlight of the support of the game was right before the second goal. Inebriati had like something like 30-ish like real flare, not smoke. They had smoke, but they also had real flares, and they started to light them like I think as the rush started to come. So, and the TSN didn't want to highlight it too much. Apparently, the American channel showed more of it.
So this is why the MLS guy was videoing all this stuff.
Maybe.
There was a tweet tonight about how he was videoing
the security
everything.
guy.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw that.
So there was like tons of flares.
Nice.
Like before the goal went in, and then in the celebration, it looked very nice.
So I mean, great for Canadian soccer. Canada's
No way,
team
no,
has won.
no.
Yeah, I know.
Stop
ESPN tweeted out "O Canada." Like, no, it's not "O Canada." It's "O Toronto."
To show how I didn't watch it, but I think it happened. I heard about it was happening before at the end of last week. To show how tone deaf MLS is, I believe they decided to honor the retiring Patrice Bernier.
They did.
Like, how moronic do you have to be? Mm-hmm. Like I swear, someone just said, "Oh, he's Canadian. The game is in Canada. Let's honor him." Right? I don't know what happened. I didn't read. I don't know if he got booed or everyone was like showed respect or whatever. But like, what an awful idea! Like you like, and if you're him, obviously you're not going to say no, right? I would find from knowing Patrice a little bit and what I know of him, I find it really hard that he would say no. I don't want, no. You want to honor me? No. Let's whatever.
Yeah.
But like, why would you? Can you not just wait for first kick in Montreal next year? Like it was moronic.
So, of the three rivals that have won the MLS Cup, who would you rank as the one that hurt the least and hurt the most? I'll go in reverse. I'll go first. Sorry, in reverse. I think the least hurting is TFC winning, only because the only person I like who is a supporter of any of these three teams is Daniel Squizzato. So I'm happy to see him, after all he suffered. So that's number 3. Number 2 is Seattle winning. And number 1 is Portland winning, only because they didn't beat a rival of ours. See, Toronto beat Seattle, Seattle beat Toronto, so that was okay because one of our rivals actually suffered during that year. Portland defeated Columbus, and they defeated them on a goal that should never have counted. That was out of bounds by like 3 feet. So that kind of that negates everything. So for me, it's Portland. You guys? Let's go to Michael.
For me, actually, the least frustrating one was the Portland one by far.
That was first too, so that's probably why it was.
I'd probably say the most frustrating because I view them as the most significant and largest rival was the Seattle victory. But Toronto they completed a treble, which is crazy. So that made that one, I think, a little bit elevated the frustration or the pain of it.
Right, before I do my 3, what I want to say is TFC. For years, I thought TFC stood for total fucking crap. And for years it did, to be fair. But now they've got a totally foolproof way of winning trophies. You just go and spend money.
Isn't that what everybody wants Vancouver to do?
See, I can't knock it in some ways because East Fife won the 2008 Scottish League 2 Championship by outspending the whole division. Everyone hated us because we did it. Did I care? Did it taint it from us looking at it? No.
Oh, yeah.
So if my team does it, it's great. My rival does it, I hate it.
By the way, Zach, I owe you $5 because you had the first hour where he was going to mention East Fife. I thought second hour.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So just like,
I genuinely...
Well, but hang on, we didn't think it was going to be about winning something.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point. That should have been a bonus.
My one that hurts the least was Seattle winning it last year.
Wait, East Fife winning something or spending lots of money?
Well, we nearly went bankrupt 2 years later because we had all these players and high salaries and our benefactor left.
You're Gretna in disguise?
Yeah, pretty much. We did get some money from the guy that owned Gretna to help buy the club as well. Oh. That's a whole other story.
Sorry, I interrupted. Keep
yeah, so my 3-2-1, the one that hurts the least to me is actually Seattle. Just because it was the second year.
Oh, the game was crap.
The
game was awful.
It was the second year, so I'd already had my heart broken by Portland. TFC, to me, hurts the second most because I wanted Vancouver to be the first Canadian club to win it.
For both you guys, it's Portland.
For me, it was Portland because I wanted us to be the first Canadian or Cascadian club to do it.
True,
and then Portland screwed that over for us. Yeah. So I didn't want a rival to lift it. And then a rival lifted it. And I said to Steve on the phone today, I still hold out hopes that we're going to lift the MLS Cup one day. He told me to get over that in any way, shape or form. But if Colorado can do it, admittedly MLS 2.0,
that was 1.5.
Even borderline 2.0.
As Portland's tifo to kick off the next season after they won said, yeah, you always remember your first.
Yeah. So I've got to go with Portland. Couple more MLS things we'll just quickly talk about before we wrap this section up. The MLS trade window opened today.
The Walker Zimmerman trade was interesting because they got $500,000 in allocation. Yes. The first
250 of each. Yeah, that was-
250, and the first spot in the allocation ranking.
Yeah, which
one of the modes of acquiring
yes,
players.
which I think is obviously because they want to bring Brek Shea back to Dallas,
Well,
and then the Whitecaps will take the number 1 spot,
That doesn't.
and then
That's
we'll
not
bring
how that
over
works.
Femi Martins in.
Okay, that's okay.
That's how they'll trade their
Okay,
spot.
maybe.
Stop talking about.
And
The
that's
other
what-
one,
I'm
Sport
joking.
in Kansas City.
Express your views as you.
traded for a retiring
Yeah,
player.
they traded for Kenwin Jones solely by the looks of it, so that they could
Yeah.
leave him unprotected and protect.
Because he's retiring.
Yeah,
right.
and he's made it clear he's not going to play. So that was hilarious. So I don't think anything else really jumped out there. Anyone in free agency take your fancy?
Not really. Nothing really stands out at all. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But yeah, the only players that really stand out are players that we have, like Jacobson, if you want to bring him
Jacobson
back.
and Harvey are very serviceable guys, and I think
Yeah.
they'll be in demand.
Yeah.
They're veterans. They've got experience. They're reliable.
If they want to bring in somebody, maybe a Chris Pontius, but I don't know how much he has left.
No.
I don't. Honestly, I
Too
don't.
old.
Yeah.
AJ, I would be happy if they brought back AJ.
I still want Alan Gordon.
Again?
I just
He
like
was
Alan
he was
Gordon.
here for like the
Fine.
better part of a day.
10, 15 minutes.
Anyway,
You remember that? You remember that?
I
Right?
do, yeah. They put him in the draft and then let him go again. So, final thing we'll just quickly talk about is MLS increased TAM.
2.8 million over
You
2
can't
years.
trade this TAM, and it comes from the owner's own pockets. The clubs unanimously voted for it.
You can't, yeah. Wow. So there's tradable
There's two
and
different kinds.
untradable.
Tradable TAM and untradable TAM.
Wait, does that add more mechanism? I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It's yeah.
Like somebody said on thing that we should just increase the cap. Just increase the cap.
No,
to-
but- It's like-
Okay.
This is a mechanism to keep player salaries down so that they can't advance and get higher and higher. So that's all it is.
But what you're saying is what the players are saying, because when they did the last deal, the league, like they always do, they put all their money in some and hide it and say, "Hey guys, we are not making any money. Our TV deal is not as good as it could be. The ratings aren't what they should be. The sponsor money is where we're blah 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 blah. We can only go up a little, whatever." But then they do it this way so they can control it.
They can control it. That way they don't have to keep increasing the salary cap and they just all they do is they just increase the TAM, which I don't know if the players how much they get even of that. That doesn't. I'm not sure if that helps them get anything. Maybe it does.
It helps. It does help them, but again, they don't control it, and it. Yeah,
I think it's a game changer. If clubs spend this money, you're going to see potentially a
better
maybe not in
players.
the Whitecaps, but you're going to see a better quality of player.
They got
coming
Blundell
into
coming in
MLS.
from 1.3 million, and now he doesn't have to be like a DP because at 1.3 million transfer fee he would have been a DP.
No, because the transfer fee is over the
No, it's TAM because they use TAM for it. They don't have to do.
No,
it.
but
like Matthias Laba was a DP because of the transfer fee.
But the 1.3 would be divided over the guaranteed years of the contract if what I remember from the napkin is right.
Well, yeah,
but
they're getting both 2018 and 19 TAM up front as well, so
Yeah.
they can spend that as well.
And the way to do that has been spend it now because they'll add more later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
it'll
we'll
be
see what
interesting.
happens there.
There's some accountability here, though. There's at least one small piece of accountability with this because the vote was unanimous.
Yes.
So the Whitecaps ownership said we are for this. So if they don't use it, they need to be held accountable
But
for
you have
that.
to remember as well, the Whitecaps are the 9th highest spenders in MLS, so they are spending money. This myth that they're not spending money is not true.
No, they're just not spending money on the
They're
right
not spending
players.
as much as some of the others.
No,
or
it's just
on the right players.
on the three DPs. That's the only
Yes.
problem I have.
Let's go
Yes,
back to
I agree.
Kamara. And a comment that Zach made, he's a very Vancouver DP if he ends up being a DP. Because he's an MLS guy, but he's not maybe this difference maker. He's not a Javinko.
Yeah.
He's not this kind of DP difference maker that other clubs bring in.
Well, also based on his salary last year, which correct me if I'm wrong, I believe was $800,000. Then he should be a TAM player at the most.
Yeah, and he can. I know people have said, "Oh, they haven't done it in the past," but they still can do that if they find the right designated player striker in the summertime. They can always buy people down because Bravo has said that a couple guys are not going to be coming till the summer.
Yeah.
So this might be something that they use until the summertime.
And we'll just kind of finish the chat in this segment with a tweet from Steve Hemphill. I tweeted out just what's on your minds, and he said what should be on the minds of Whitecaps fans is how do we catch up to the standard TFC have set? Is my club ambitious enough? And why can't we have a proper DP level player?
So
The answer to the second question is no, not at this point.
No,
and so you have to accept it and just support the players that are on the field.
If you take TFC out of the question as sort of astronomically above others, or maybe that's too strong of a word, and you just want to answer the question: are they ambitious enough? They have to this point. I would say they have shown that they are not.
Can't disagree with that. So that is the Whitecaps and MLS chat for this part of tonight's show. Now it is time for Wavelength. Yep, we're having it in part 2 again this week. And this will be in the first episode of the podcast that comes out on Monday. As regular listeners will know, December is Football Violence Awareness Month, wearing our ribbons again for this good cause. And for this one...
Because Steve and I condemn it.
Even after watching Toronto winning the MLS Cup, you didn't want to smash a few chairs through the window of Red Card?
No.
Huh. You surprised me. I did, and I wasn't even in Red Card. So we're going back to 2006. A song by anti-fascist band The Oppressed from England. And it's not the greatest quality because it is from vinyl. But this is simply called Football Violence.
Nobody's but fighting for the glory. I go round the football ground, a never-ending story. What you gonna do when they all sing? You're gonna get your fucking head kicked. What you gonna do when they all shout? Come and have a go, but that's what life's about. Football violence! All the boys all making noise, wearing boots and braces. If you meet that on the street, watch out for the blazers. What you gonna do when they all sing? You're gonna get your fucking head kicked. What you gonna do when they all shout? Come and have a go, that's what life's about. Football violence! Football violence! Football fucks the bloody blood, fighting for the glory. I go round the football ground, a never-ending story. What you gonna do when they all sing? You're gonna get your fucking head kicked. What you gonna do when they all shout? Come and have a go, but that's what life's about. Football violence!
The Oppressed there with Football Violence. And we'll have more Wavelength songs next week. And that is it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. So just before we go, just let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM, and I'm a part of the Movement Curva Collective.
And you can find me on Twitter at Whitecapsbeat.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Check our Instagram account. That's at AFTN Soccer. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. I'm also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com. Anyway, that is it for this episode of the show. Thank you for listening. Take care. And as always, Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.